Well, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Transitioning to Sophomore Year presentation. I am Donna Eason. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the assistant head of upper school, and one of my major duties, especially around this time of the year, is registration. So most of this presentation is going to be about registration. However, when we get to questions, the question answer session, you all can ask me questions about other things besides registration. If I have the answer, I'll be able to answer it tonight. If not, then I can get you an answer when I have one. So this is what we're going to cover. Graduation requirements, and this is a good thing for students if they haven't started this year in the ninth grade to definitely start when we get to the registration period for 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. So trying to map out, they don't have to have everything perfectly, of course, but it helps to know what the graduation requirements are. We're going to talk about registration, where you all can find information, what the calendar looks like regarding registration. I want to talk a little bit about the disciplinary program. You all, I think, have already received that presentation about the interdisciplinary program, but there are a couple other pointers I want to mention tonight. And then a very general, what can we expect for sophomore year for your child, and then questions and answers. So graduation requirements. So these are the things that students have to graduate from Cary Academy. They're not limited to these, but they need to have at least 21 credits to graduate. This includes core classes and electives. Now, most students have more than 21 credits, but you need 21 credits overall to graduate. They have to have 4 years of English. So next year, sophomore year is very easy. There's just one English class if you are not doing the interdisciplinary program, of course. So they don't have electives, they just have a 1-year-long class. Now the arts, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because what we require, and I'm gonna go over this, but I also know how awkward it's gonna sound, okay? So I'll do my best. Students have to have 2 credits of art to graduate. They are already getting 0.5 this year because they're taking art and design. So that leaves 1.5. Most of students in the ninth grade take an elective fall semester and elective spring semester. That gives them another 0.5 for the year. So typically, ninth graders end the year with 1 credit. That's the art and design, and that's the 2 electives. Now, there are, a few students who are taking more than that for the arts, but on the whole, I think all of the ninth graders are taking at least one, or getting at least 1 credit, okay? The other credit to graduate, 0.5 of that. Okay, let me back up. Okay, so you have 0.5 that comes from art and design, okay? That leaves 1.5. Out of that 1.5, 0.5 has to be from a class that has ART in its code. These are all the fine arts, performing arts, speech and debate. The other 1 credit can be from the art department, it can be from computer science department, and it can be from the Center for Community Engagement department. Okay, does everybody understand that? Now, most kids might have more than 2 credits, especially kids who are really into the arts and want to do it every year. But sometimes it's just, they only need the 2 credits to graduate. I'll go a little bit more into arts a little bit later. And then the history and social sciences, to graduate, they have to have 3 full years of courses between 9th and 12th grade. So typically, what they do is what they're doing this year, they took historical thinking their first semester. This semester, they're taking an elective, one of the semester courses. Then next year for the 10th grade, each semester has a semester course. So when students actually start registering, what they're going to do is the same thing they did for this school year. They're going to rank their courses, okay? They also have to have U.S. history. So that's going to either be U.S. history or advanced U.S. history. Most students take that junior, well, all of them take it either junior or senior year. Sophomores can't take U.S. history. So for math, to graduate from Cary Academy, you need 3 full-year courses from grades 9 through 12, and that has to include Algebra 2. So you have to have Algebra 2 to graduate. Most schools, however, most colleges want you to have 4 years of math. So what we like to tell parents is to just think about your child taking 4 years of math, even though we only require 3 to graduate from Cary Academy. There will be students every now and then, because of a program that they want to go into for college, where that 4th math may not be necessary, but that's rare. So we like to encourage students to just get it in their minds that they're going to take math all 4 years. Science, they just need 3 full-year courses. They need to take biology, chemistry, physics to graduate. We have some students who only take 3 years of science, and then they decide that they don't want to take another science. That's fine, okay? But that happens junior, senior years. Next year, your child will be taking biology or taking chemistry, most likely. Some may be taking physics, but there are very few who do. And world language, your child does need to take world language next year. So we have a requirement of 3 years that are back-to-back for the languages. So sophomore year, your child will be taking a language. And it will just be the next language, moving to the next level. So here's the registration timeline. We are now or students are now in their one-on-one meetings with their advisors, trying to plan out not just next year, but they are looking at or considering what they might want to do junior and senior years. What we're doing this year is, in the past, we've used these hard copy worksheets that students worked on to plan out their years. This year, they can still use the hard copy if they want to, but they're also using a Microsoft form. So the benefit of that is that the advisor can keep that information as your students go through 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, but I also get a copy of that. So it just gives more eyes on what the student wants to take and what the student plans on registering for. We do encourage you to work with your child as the child is filling out that Microsoft form, and they've received that from their advisor already. The 21st and the 22nd are the Parent Advisee Advisor Conferences. This is when the advisor is going to pull up that form, and let's go through it. Let's talk this out. So it's not just a one and done, they do it with you and then you never see it again. There's going to be a discussion around these choices that are being made. And then April the 1st through the 5th, so like I said, we moved the date up with registration, so when they get back from break, that's when they can actually start to register in Blackbaud. Now, when they register in Blackbaud, they are requesting classes. They're not enrolling. I actually enroll them in the class. So once they request their courses, then we run, I like to tell people the whole process. I know y'all don't want to hear all of this, but then we run a schedule, full school schedule, and then we see if there are conflicts. Out of 400 something students, 300 of them will be conflicts. So that's when I spend the majority of April and May reconciling those conflicts. Okay, so like I said before, the worksheets, the students have received that. There are certain things that need to be used as that form is being filled out. Students need to review the catalog. I'm going to show you all where all of this information is, but they need to go ahead and look at the catalog so they can look at those descriptions, so that they can look and see requirements, any prerequisites, age levels, things like that, before they actually start plugging in what they want. And they also need to look at their transcript. This really helps them determine how many credits they need, especially for the arts. But it's just a way for them to get used to looking at the transcript, what would be sent to colleges and other programs, and if there are any discrepancies on the transcript. Sometimes there are. And so the earlier they can catch that, the better. instead of waiting all the way to senior year. So we really want them to look at transcripts every year. When they register, and this is when they're doing the worksheets, but also when they're requesting classes, if they want to change something on either one, for the worksheets, they can make changes at any time. Those are worksheets. They don't go into Blackbaud. For the actual registration in Blackbaud, if they register on the 1st and then decide on the 3rd they want to make a change, they can. There's not a first come, first serve situation when it comes to registration. I don't run the schedule until we close the go live, and that's on the 5th. So they can make any adjustments they want to make during that week. And they don't have to do it right when the Blackbaud opens. They can wait if they want to, as long as they don't wait past the 5th. So this is where you find this information. If you go to resources, if you go into Blackbaud and you go into resources, you will see a block that says upper school course registration. In that block, there's a lot of information. There is a PowerPoint that is more detailed than what I'm showing y'all today about registration. It covers registration for 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders. And it also gives more details about the different departments. So that's a great resource for you to look at. There's also a video on the interdisciplinary program if you want to look at that again and you have an interest. There is a video on the new courses that are being offered next year. There's also some information that you might not necessarily need, like Bridge to Upper School. That's more so for the rising 9th graders, but you can always look at that also. And there are forms on that page. So forms like the worksheets, the online course form, which 10th graders can't register for an online course anyway, so that wouldn't be one that's necessary. But we do have some 10th graders who want to be teacher's aides, and there's a form for that also there. So if you are looking for information, you can find all that information at resources, upper school course registration. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what your child is going to be doing and looking at. Right now, we are getting ready to send out the report cards for midterm. And what you will see in the comments, so I do encourage you all to look at the comments from the teachers. For some teachers, they have made a comment that they may not have made a determination on a recommendation yet. For some teachers, it might take a little bit longer because they're looking at an assignment that just came in. That comment will be in the comment section on the report card. Other teachers have already made their recommendations. So the ones who are going to make them a little later, that will come in official note. And the ones who have made it, if you look, I'm going to show y'all in a minute where to find the recommendations. But when a student is requesting courses, they will go to where you can see it says course requests, and that's on the student's page. And they will see on the left side the available courses for them. So that means that the year this is a class they could take during their sophomore year, or it could be this is a class they got a recommendation for. And so they'll be able to see those available courses to them, and then that on the right side, that's just going to let them know what they select, okay? And that's from April the 1st through the 5th. When they're looking at their recommendations, on the right side, now this is at the very bottom of that page, so when they go to course requests, they'll scroll all the way down, and on the right side, they'll see all of the recommendations that teachers have made for them. Now, in some cases, they may think that they've been recommended for a class, but they don't see it on the list. They can always go talk to the teacher. It might be that they just were not recommended for that course. And then other times it might be that the teacher said one thing and then forgot to put it in or whatever. And so students can talk to their teachers if they see a discrepancy with what they thought was going to happen and what is actually there. But that is the list of, that's where they find recommendations. And that's what they use to start determining what they will take next year. Some classes don't need recommendations. For instance, English 10 is an automatic. It won't be on a recommendation list. But the classes that need recommendations will be there. Now, when students are actually requesting, if you look on the left side, it's a drop-down menu. So what they're going to do is click on for each subject what they want to take, and then for certain subjects, they'll need to put alternates. That's mostly for the history, the history semester courses, and for the arts. And that's because I can't always give a student their top pick because it might be based on when their other classes are falling. So I need to be able to see what alternates they would like to take also. So now we're going to get into some information about departments. This is by no means a comprehensive section. There are some more details, but I just wanted to hit on the main points. I think most of you probably know some of this information because we talked about it when students were coming from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. But most of our students are going to take either biology or chemistry in 9th and 10th grades, okay? And so with biology, for most, well, for 9th graders, the only biology that was available is bio-eco. However, if we have any students who took chemistry for 9th grade, they may have the opportunity to take biology molecular focus. There is a prerequisite, which is chemistry. So if they take chemistry 9th grade, then biology molecular focus opens up for them. Also, there are 2 different chemistries, and so those are based on maths. So whatever a student is taking in math, that could be the chemistry they choose. The chemistry, I'm not actually, Rachel Attai, I wish she was here, but Rachel Attai is the department chair for the sciences. She can give a more in-depth understanding of the differences with the chemistries, but if you look at the description in the catalog, that's going to give you an understanding too. There are 2 options for physics for sophomores if they do want to take that. Physics, we call it physics well, so it's waves, electricity, and light. So that's open up to all grades as long as they have geometry or higher. And then physics mechanics is open up to 10th through 12th graders. Now, once again, make sure you look at the prerequisites or co-requisites to see if your child can register for that course. I know you all probably can't see all of it. That's a lot of text on this page. But we do have some new math courses. Math paths, this is an example of a math path, but I know that a lot of your students are probably taking geometry or taking maybe Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. So what we tend to see is they just progress to the next level math. If any students are a little bit beyond Algebra 2, then you can start seeing what this path might look like for students. There are a lot of varieties in the path. Now, students must complete Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 to graduate from Cary Academy, or at least finish Algebra 2 to graduate from Cary Academy. But we do, like I said before, recommend, and in most cases they're going to have to anyway, take a 4th year math. So we do like them to start mapping out what that math path might look like for 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. The history path courses are similar to what you did this year. So they will rank those courses. There are new courses. It won't be the same courses from this year for next year. And the reasoning is to make sure that nothing is being repeated. So usually what the history department might do is either come up with new courses or they may rotate courses that happened 2 years ago. So students will have an opportunity to choose from a variety. I think there are about 5 in the fall and 6 choices in the spring. And they will need to choose for both semesters. So when they are doing their worksheets, when they actually register, they will be registering for both fall and spring. I've explained the art, and I know that was a painful enough explanation, so I won't go through it again. So let me jump to what's considered core, okay? So core classes, your English class, math, science, history, and world language. But also, advanced computer science courses are considered core classes because it's an advanced course. And advanced art portfolio, which we don't have 10th graders doing. So that's usually 11th or 12th graders. So those are core classes. So looking at transcripts, you all can do this now. Students have access to this. When they go to the Progress tab, when they open up Blackboard and they go to Performance, they can see an unofficial transcript. And we always say, go ahead and look at the one that has S1 grades, because that's going to give the most information. Students can already look at their transcripts. For their second semester, they will see the classes, but of course there will be no grade or no credits for this semester. But at least they'll be able to see first semester grades and credits. So I do encourage students to check their transcripts during this year. So a teacher's assistantship, there are some students who desire to do a teacher's assistantship, and most of the time I see it in math, history, and sometimes science. What that means is 1 day a week, that student will be working in the class of a chosen teacher and subject, and they'll be helping the teacher out. They have to fill out a form to be able to do this. Also, it has to work with their schedule. They may want to do it, but the class that they want to be the teacher assistant in is a class where they're taking another class, so they won't be able to do it. Typically, the teacher's assistantships last for a semester, but we have some students who do it both semesters. So sophomores can do teacher's assistantships. They don't do independent studies, however. They do those. Those are allowed for 11th and 12th graders. So a few things that sophomores need to know. They need to take 5 core academic courses. They cannot take more than that. This is, their English, history, math, science, and world language. We do encourage, but it doesn't have to happen. We encourage students to go ahead and try to at least get as many of that art credit requirement done by the end of the 10th grade. So some students may take electives that meet twice a week, so that has more weight in terms of credits. They may take 2 electives each semester, so they might do that. Because since they're taking 5 core classes, that gives them, they still have some room to take electives. So we encourage them to try to finish up the elective requirement. It doesn't mean don't take electives junior and senior year if you want to, but because junior and senior year, some of those more rigorous advanced courses start happening, we want them to be able to have a balance in what they're taking and what either free time or time to study or do work they have in those 11th and 12th grade years. So if they can get the art requirement out of the way, that can help them out. Now, I say that, but we also have a lot of students who love ceramics or love dance or love painting. So they take those electives all the way to through senior year, and that's fine. That's wonderful, actually. Like I said before, with the PATH courses, it's ranking them. They might not get their first pick, they might not get their second pick, but I try to start at the top and then go down based on their schedule and if there is any type of conflict. So this is, I know I'm going kind of fast. If you all need me to slow down, someone please just wave and say slow down a little bit. But once we get to the question and answer session, I'll be happy to repeat some of this too. So you all got information about the interdisciplinary program, and I'm hoping that there are some interested parties. There was something I did not cover in the Zoom that I really should have, and I got more clarity about it from the college counselors. So if you have a student who is taking biology this year, this program might not be the best for your child. And I know that could be very disappointing. But the reason is, and this is information that I got from college counselors, and it was related to what's on the transcript, what this looks like in terms of what students are taking. So if your child is taking biology 9th grade year, then they would turn right around and take another biology 10th grade year. That can look a little confusing and not in the most positive light in terms of your transcript. If a student is taking chemistry this year, then it won't make any difference because students have to take biology anyway as one of the requirements to graduate. So if your child is taking chemistry, this might be the program, and your child is interested in the program, this might be the program. I am going to send another form, interest form, and this is one to see more serious interests where you really feel like, yes, we're going to register for this. I'm going to send that out tomorrow. So if you all can look at that form and fill it out, you and your child together, and it'll be very brief, probably take about 30 seconds. But if you can fill out your interest level there, then we can start getting the ball rolling on the application process. So, what can you expect for sophomore year? I will say this, sophomore year, we sort of call it the chill year because they're not babies anymore and they haven't gotten hit with junior, senior obligations. So they tend to be a little happy. Y'all are getting ready to have some happy kids next year. They also tend to do a lot of exploration. One of the areas we really push in terms of exploring interests, that's with the X Day, and that's with their extracurriculars, and that's with their electives. So that's why the 10th grade is a great time for that type of exploration. This is a year to, like I said, finish or almost finish your arts credits. It's also a year to increase skills needed for advanced courses in the junior and senior years. So if there's a student who knows that junior, senior year, they may want to take a certain advanced course, then this year too, but next year is when they're really starting to think about how am I doing in these courses, what should I be taking? And it's also a year of character building and relationship forging. So we see a lot of growing up, a lot of maturing over that 10th grade year. So I have been working with 9th and 10th graders I've been here this will be my 20th year being here. And I particularly like 9th and 10th grade. What I have found with 9th and 10th graders is 9th grade, they're excited, a little nervous. They get the hang of things. By the end of the year, you see a lot of growth in terms of maturing. At the beginning of the 10th grade year, they have reverted back to 7th grade, okay? And so we see them growing again. But by mid-year, 10th grade year, there's incredible growth and maturity where they are owning their learning, they are advocating for themselves, they are taking on challenges that they're coming up with. No one's telling them to do it, they want to do it. They're creating these fabulous X days, they're working community service, they're doing all of that stuff. It usually is a little bit later in the 10th grade year. Some of them surprise me, it's at the very beginning. But that's usually the trend that I see with 10th grade. So it's a very fun year. It's a year that you all are going to be going through a lot of excitement and a little bit of, I want to pull my hair out a little, but it's a great year for students. It's probably I think their most fun year. So, are there any questions for me? I know I went through that kind of quickly, but I'll be happy to entertain. And it doesn't have to be questions just about what I covered. Yes? Yes. Great question. When you go to Blackbaud and you go to resources, upper school registration materials, there's a link to the catalog. The catalog lays out all of that. It tells you how many credits, how many times a week that class meets, how many credits, if it's a semester or a year, and what the prerequisites are, and what grades can take that class, and the description, of course. Does that answer your question? Also on the transcript, if you look at the classes that were taken this year, on the transcript, it'll say the credits too. Yeah, so for an arts elective, or an elective that counts as an art. Once a week for a semester is 0.25. Twice a week for a semester, zero point 0.5. So that's usually the breakdown. There are not many 2 days a week art electives. There may be 3. So it's mostly 1 day a week for the semester. There are some year-long. For instance, almost all of the speech and debate are year-long courses that meet once a week. Any other questions? Yes. I still like them to put other things because just in case there's some type of conflict, it's easier for me to see other interests they have before I reach out to the student. Because if there's a serious conflict where this child has to take this language at the same time as speech and debate, I'm going to always go with the core classes first. So that would be the reason why I need more information. Yes. We have had maybe a couple of students who have done the middle school arts. But in terms of the core classes, it's upper school. So they stay up here. They usually stay up here. Mhm. Yes. That's that's a good question. So for 10th graders, the only exception that we do with the 5 core classes is advanced computer science. It's that one class that we do it with. Um, the And that is off of a recommendation, if the student gets a recommendation for that. But that is the only one. We are working right now to change our computer science program so that we don't have that situation. But currently, we have students who are just at that advanced level with computer science without alternatives. So no, they can't because they have to take 4 years of these other courses. So, or at least 3, but it has to be during the sophomore year. So they have to take English. They have to take their history. They have to take the world language. They have to take their math. Now, sometimes we might have a student not take science and wait to junior, senior year. That is highly discouraged. So that's why it is technically a 6th core class if you do advanced computer science. Good question. Yes. So college math topics, that's an elective. It doesn't replace a math course, but they do get elective credit. Not an art elective credit, but towards that 21 credits. And they can take that multiple times. Yeah, it won't count as a core, so they can do that. If they rather do that than take an art, or in addition to taking an art, we encourage that if they really want to do it, that's great. And that's the same thing with PE. So there are some PE electives also. And students can do that. That won't count towards the art, the 2 credits for art, but it does count towards the 21 credits. And we have some students who are very much into sports medicine, things like that, strength and fitness. And so they do decide to take a PE elective too. That's one that you would need to talk to Karen McKenzie about because for some students, they might need to take that to take advanced computer science. So I would encourage you, if you have any questions about the computer science program, she could give you detailed information. I would suggest you talk to Karen McKenzie. She is the department chair for computer science and our IT director also. Any questions that might not be registration related? It could be anything. Okay, in the back? There is a program for ninth and 10th graders. It's not, the one that the slide that you saw, that's for rising 11th graders. So there's more of a program for 11th and 12th graders, but the ninth and 10th graders will hear from the college counselors at a class meeting or something like that. But they, at any time, students and parents can talk to college counselors. So you don't have to wait. Students are not assigned a college counselor until mid junior year. Students typically do it because they want to. They enjoy that particular subject. It does count as an elective, not an arts elective. I always have to keep saying it's not part of that too, but it is an elective. The advantage is they want to do it, and they maybe enjoy that particular teacher or that particular subject. So it's purely that interest and passion, the reason why they might do it. Yes, they get credit for it. It's an elective credit, and it's on their transcript. Oh, that's a great question. The field trip, I will say this, and we do it pretty much the same every year. It's that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before Labor Day. So I don't have it. I think it's the 28th through the 30th, maybe, but we always go that week. And for the 10th graders, I think they're still working on where it's going to be. But yes, yes. And you will receive, just like you did from Allison Bowie for ninth grade, in the summer, you'll receive information from Dr. Paige Mazzaros about 10th grade and about the trip. So you'll get that in the summertime, late summer. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Typically, that's a good question. Typically, if this is a class that we don't offer that particular AP. Students can take that AP somewhere else. There are some APs. You don't have to necessarily take the class to take the AP. I will say Caleb Horowitz, and I can find out more information for you about this. Caleb Horowitz is our testing coordinator who can give you a lot of detail about the APs, but I will find out that information for you because I'm not exactly sure if they have to take it here to take the AP. I don't think so, but I think that there are certain AP tests that we offer here, and there's some that we don't. And so depending on the course or things like that, then that might determine if we're offering that testing. But I can find out that information for you. Right. So we have our philosophy in terms, and we have worked on this, like I said, I've been here for 20 years, so I've seen a lot of iterations of things that we've done. What we do when it comes to advanced courses, so we don't offer AP courses anyway, we offer advanced courses. And I know that's, people are like, what's the distinction? The main distinction is we don't have to teach AP material, so that's why we do advanced. So the reason we do that is because we are very much a school that takes a holistic approach and looks at balance. What we find is there's so many requirements that ninth and 10th graders have to have, and so many things that we want to encourage them to do, even outside of the classroom. Also, we look at where they are in terms of maturity, where they are in terms of just development. We have found that advanced courses work best with older students, with juniors and seniors. So they have a lot that they are doing that ninth and 10th grade. But our advanced courses are for our juniors and seniors, with the exception of something like advanced computer science. Now, we do have students who may take honors math courses, but the advanced courses, same thing, it's the case with science, English, sometimes the world language. Every now and then it might be no, I think pretty much, yeah, juniors and seniors, advanced world language too. So those are, and when they get to junior, senior years, they can only take a certain number of advanced courses. So students have to learn, how do I decide? We want them to start that. That's a maturing process too. I have to make decisions. I can't take everything. And so those are things that they are building that foundation freshman and sophomore year. So that's our reason why. When you say does it equate, in what way? Right. hmm Yes, yes. They can take advance. They can sit. There are students who don't take advance and can sit for the AP test. hmm Honors. So we see honors in our math courses. So, for instance, you might have an honors algebra 2, and you'll have an algebra 2 class. You have to be recommended to get in to take honors. It's a little there's a little bit more depth of work. However, if you take, for instance, if my student takes algebra 2, that does not exclude that child from taking honors pre-calc. Okay, so you don't have to be, there is no tracking system in that sense where you have to stay on an honors track to take honors. There are times where a student decides to do algebra 2, is really picking this up, getting it, and that teacher says, I think this student can do honors pre-calc, and the student decides to. Now, students can decide, I know I was recommended for honors pre-calc, I don't want to take honors pre-calc, and they don't have to. So, and we don't do GPA, so we don't have that type of breakdown at all. And colleges know when they see our schedules and, I mean, our transcripts, they see advanced, they know that it's on a level of maybe what public schools will call AP. Yeah. Right. Well, the question is, how do we, and let me know if I'm not getting this totally correct, how do we make sure we're competitive in terms of our advanced courses on the level of AP public school courses? Is that right? And really, I'm going to say this, even our classes that are not advanced are on a rigorous level. Colleges know our school. They know the type of assessments, assignments, curriculum that we have. And so our programs, our departments are always looking at how can we grow, how can we change in some areas. When we look at sometimes our AP test scores, they're very high. So those are some indicators that we have. We don't have to send our curriculum anywhere to have it evaluated. We evaluate ourselves. We look at what colleges want students to be able to do when they enter college. We look at what skills we want students to be able to do at the end of every year. So here's our set. These are the ways that we determine how we are doing. based on these skills. One of the major ones, of course, and this is across the board in any department, critical thinking. We see it a lot in our assignments where we are not spoon feeding information to students. They're actually doing a lot of it themselves. That shows us a level of critical thinking that we like to see. Some of the X days that these kids create actually illustrate where they are in terms of their academic development, emotional development, mental development, maturity, all of that. So we try to look at all of these things together. We don't have necessarily a scoring that we do to determine this, but in looking at it all together, talking with colleges, college counselors, talking with what's going on at other schools, this is how we determine that we're competitive. And we have been told that we are quite competitive. Yes. Yes. So that's actually on, I think, a community day that we do that. And so that's also something that Dr. Mazzaros will send out that information. That's usually around, I think, October. Around that October 13th or something like that. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. The question was about PSAT. Do we regulate PSAT? Yeah, if there's a time where y'all don't hear the question, just remind me because I have forgotten to repeat them. But yes, we do that in the 10th grade. And I know it's around August. I mean, not August, October. Hmm. So for sophomores and for juniors, it's 5, with the exception, of course, the computer science. Seniors can take 6 core courses. It depends on how many advanced courses, though, can determine how many courses you could take. So we're looking at a balance of number of courses and number of advanced courses. And so the breakdown for each grade is we encourage each grade to take 5 core courses, with senior year being the year you could take the most. And that's also the year where students make different decisions. For instance, some students decide they don't want to take a 4th year of a world language. They don't have to. So they may want to double up in math or double up in English. So they make those types of decisions during their junior year. Some seniors want to take an online course, and that's an option for them. Hmm. Every year, students have to take English. So you're talking about for junior, senior year? No. So that's a great question. So the question is, are there other subjects besides math and science that have prerequisites? It's a yes and no. So in English, there is, if a student wants to take one of these semester courses as advanced, they have to be recommended for it. For history, if students are taking advanced courses, like advanced macro or advanced microeconomics or advanced US history or advanced African American history, they have to be recommended for it. They don't necessarily have prerequisites, they just have to be recommended for it. Because all of the 10th graders are going to take the same thing. And so they'll be, in terms of, they'll take semester courses. So in terms of requirements, that will already be done. But they have to be recommended for the advanced level. In terms of world language, it just depends on where your child is in world language. So if they're going to go to intermediate high junior year, that's because they passed intermediate mid their sophomore year. So it just depends on where they are. Are there any other questions? Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Right. So the question is about the interdisciplinary program, and students who are taking biology this year are not necessarily recommended to take do the interdisciplinary program next year. It's more so that back to back, especially when they do need to take three, um, especially right now where we're trying, this is the pilot program, but from the feedback we got recently from college counselors, that's where they were saying it's not problematic for us in terms of graduation because they could always take their chemistry and their physics junior, senior year, but for students going to college. So we like to let people know up front what might be a best move for a student even after Carey Academy. And that's where the problem has been mentioned, is that back-to-back biology. And neither is advanced. Mm-hmm. Right. So if we had a student who took biology ninth grade, chemistry 10th grade, advanced bio 11th grade, no problem with it. Physics 12th grade, that would be no problem. Yeah. Yes. That is social science. So this economics, that was the question. So it's in the history department. So there's and that's only for juniors and seniors. Hmm. So the question was about economics, the micro and the macroeconomics. In history, they have just the path courses that they'll be taking. Yes. I do not have information about the international. Are you talking about the one that they're getting ready to go on? I mean, I'm sorry, that they go on in the 10th grade. Okay, so Martina Green is the person to talk to about that, but she does several meetings during the 10th grade about the world language trip. So you're going to get a lot of information over the whole year about that. Yes. That's a great question. It doesn't, because those trips take place after that semester's over. So we do discovery term the last 2 weeks of school. That's also when the kids are on the language trip, and that's when the juniors are doing work experience. So it won't affect it. Hmm. 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 So next year, your child will have more areas of free periods, because this year you had these required courses like PE and art and design. Next year, you don't have those requirements. So students can take more electives. I always encourage one free period. The harder their schedule gets, a lot of y'all's kids play sports. They have to go somewhere right after school. That's the benefit of having a free period. So sometimes students get so excited and they want to take the world. And I always say, leave a little room for you, because it's gonna be a time you need it. You might not need it at the first week of school or the first month, but that's gonna really come in handy when these classes have a lot of assessments going on or projects, and you need to meet with people you're working with or with a teacher. So you can look at when the schedule comes out and they see that they have free periods and they're too many, they wanna fill them during the add drop period, they can add some more courses, some more electives. So that's what's happened with some kids. They decide they don't want, they might have 2 free periods and they only want one. They'll add another elective. And what they have to add is the elective that's available during that time. Mhm. The add drop period is at the beginning of the school year, is for 2 weeks. So during that time, uh, if students need to make any adjustments, they do. Yes, on Blackbaud, under request. So when your child goes to Blackbaud, and they should be seeing these tomorrow, I think, is when midterm report cards come out. So they'll start seeing, I would say over the weekend, you all can look at all of this stuff. But if you go to Blackbaud and you go to your child's page and go to course requests, scroll all the way to the bottom on the right side, you'll see all the recommendations. I want to be cognizant of people's time, so we have about 3 minutes left. Are there any other questions? And if you have a question and you just don't have it today, but there's something you think about tonight or tomorrow, feel free to email me. And I'll send you back the information. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's fine. I'm glad you asked. So what will happen is, have you been going to meetings with Dr. Mack about Discovery Term yet? Okay. Okay. What he'll start doing is having students meet. He'll be meeting with students. And students can create these Discovery Term sessions. Once he goes over how to do it, and there's a little proposal that you fill out, then what I'll do is populate Blackbaud with all of these options. And students are going to be able to choose what they want to do. Now, the one that let's say you create one. Obviously, that's the one you're going to do. But students are going to be able to choose what they want to do. And it's going to be very similar to the way you do X Day. Almost exactly the same. Okay? And that's the last 2 weeks of school. So I know Memorial Weekend falls in someplace there, but those last 2 weeks. You should be able to see the discovery options while your child is going through them. You should be able to see them. Not yet. They're not created yet. You will be able to see what your child signs up for. Is that what you mean? You'll just see what your child has picked up. It's not a list necessarily, not for discovery term. Because it doesn't have necessarily descriptions and all that type of thing. And they're going to be working on building these classes. I think they start next month, but they'll throughout that month they'll be working on those classes. So the only thing you would see would be the title anyway, but you'll see what your child is taking. And your child could tell you all of the things that's going on. But that's a process that's just similar to X Day, so it's not so much interaction the way registration for classes is, where you're working with your child. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, it's 7:30 now. I know you all are ready to go home and eat and go to bed. So thank you so much for coming. Any questions you have, let me know.